And the figure of 36,870 is if we were to go to the end of September, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And then back, when we get to March, the issue has to do with what the legislature's going to do with our funding. So depending on what happens there is when we can decide when to go forward or not.
Fair enough.
So.
Okay. Bill, any questions?
No, I have no questions. I would ask anybody speaking before the Board of Commissioners, get up close to a microphone and speak out in a normal voice and not whisper.
Okay, fair enough. So noted. Okay, no one's coming forward. Okay, then, motion?
I move that we extend the temporary custodial position until March 31st of 2021, paying back Percy and offering medical going forward.
I second the motion. Aye.
Aye.
Aye, and the motion is carried. Okay, so the second item, request for record specialist, KCSO, Captain Smart.
Thank you, Commissioners. Again, I kind of outlined already in my memo, this public records request stuff is becoming a giant and a monster of its own. And, the way society trends are looking, I don't see any gaps or any time soon of this tailoring off to be anything less than growing even exponentially as we move forward. And so we've identified that predominantly one of the problems is when media is attached to those, it becomes very time consuming to edit, redact what's necessary before we put that stuff out to the public. And so that's mostly what this request is to help cover, is to attach another record specialist position in which we would be able to break this into a collateral duty for that person, and they would handle public records requests pretty much on a full-time scale. Right now we have 4 people who are dabbling in public records requests when they come in on a daily basis. We would try to funnel more of that to this person, and then that would also alleviate some of the other stressors on our record staff alone to handle their daily duties. And then this person here would handle all of the media ones that take so much time to, again, like I said, to redact and set up for public dissemination.
Are you full staffed right now in records?
Yes, we just hired, just Monday was the last staff member that we hired.
Okay, so I guess I would ask for the newest position to get up to speed and see how things can be handled then, just because this is a mid-year position and we don't know what's going to happen with funding. And then also, I did some research on the line item that you guys are asking to use, but unfortunately, I don't have it with me because that line item has been spent down in the past, not necessarily for what the line item is lined out to be, but I wanted to do a little bit more research with that. And then you also got new computer equipment and new software to help with the redaction. Is that correct?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
But that's just to help get us up to speed to be able to do it. It wasn't necessarily going to cut down on a huge amount of time. There's still somebody who has to sit, review, go back, edit, cut, review again to ensure that all this stuff has been properly taken out before it gets sent out there. The other part about this records position that we just hired on Monday, that's just going to get us up to be able to maintain what records was doing before the last person resigned. This here is still going to be a monster of its own that we still are going to be battling because detectives was trying to handle the media portion of it, and they just can't keep doing that as well. They've tried to dabble with a temporary detective doing it, with Stu Miller doing it when he was a lieutenant, and so that's what we're attacking here is truly getting someone in place that can focus on it when they come in. There's liability stuff attached to this stuff if we don't get this out in a timely manner, and those are the battles we were trying to overcome. The detective's captain has already reviewed that line item and determined that it is something that they can forgo for this position, that this better suits what the sheriff's office needs are at this time.
Okay, so is this the same funding source that would have been used, for example, as on-call pay?
Captain Edmondson did bring this to you under this source,
right.
yes,
Okay.
for a portion of that.
Okay. How soon do you need to fill this?
Well, we have several in backgrounds right now that could fill this position, and we could get that person trained and up and running. The intent is that what we're going to do is probably take an internal person once we get the 2 new hires trained, that they want to take on this role of themselves as collateral duty. So the 2 that we would be hiring are just backfilling what records is doing right now, so they can keep maintaining what their daily activities are.
Okay. Bill, you have any thoughts?
Yeah, so maybe I didn't hear, how long will it take to get the person on,
Well, it takes about,
active and up to speed?
we're looking about, 8 weeks for our backgrounds process, and then about 2 months to get them trained up on other records duties that we could alleviate the current records person to take this as a collateral duty.
Thank you, thank you.
All right, so that answers your question. I can see the need, I can see the need for it. I think we're gonna get into a bit of a crunch, especially as you see some of the other stuff that's coming before us. What I would suggest we do is let's put a hold on this for at least the next 30 days, and we'll review it again at that time. I understand the need, but we also have greater needs where we're actually losing people and losing our ability to service folks. So hold off on it. I'm not opposed to it necessarily. I understand the situation, but I want to hold off and bring it back again right after the new year. And let's take another look at it at that time. Fair enough?
Okay?
Okay. Leslie, you okay with that?
Yep.
Bill, you okay?
Yeah, I'm very much in favor of it, but I'm willing to go another 30 days if we have to.
Okay, fair enough. All right. So that's item number 2 on the records position. Item number 3, bonus request for maintenance assistant KCSO. Who's going to speak to this?
Captain Deak.
Good morning.
Go right ahead,
Good morning,
Captain.
Commissioners. Captain Andy Deak. Okay, before you, you should have an electronic copy of a proposal, a memo sent from Sheriff Wolfinger to the board requesting a bonus for an employee for outstanding work. The bonus is being requested for our current maintenance assistant who has been doing the job of 2 people really without a hiccup. They've doubled down their efforts and continued to work extra hours, continue to work weekends as well. A lot of personal sacrifice involved, and the auditor's office has provided as well a worksheet that I believe you guys should have as well, showing the salary savings and where that would put the county as far as any encumbrance for the pay that would be awarded.
Okay, question for you, Captain. For these extra hours worked, was the employee paid overtime?
Yes, for the hours that they did work overtime, yes, that is correct.
Okay. Leslie, Bill, any thoughts?
So a couple things about bonuses. We've kind of taken a hard line about no bonuses. However, the bonuses that have already been issued this year were for a very similar circumstance where the department was down and yet the service didn't suffer. So when we have people, and I'm not opening up a can of worms, I'm not going to start entertaining these requests, I can just see how this one is similar to the other one where this person has not refused to do a second person's duty. This person's gone in and kept things running, and this is one of those positions where we can't do without them. I mean, they're kind of a necessary position over at the jail. So in general, I'm saying no to all bonuses until we get a policy in place. However, in this circumstance, I can understand, I can compare it to previous situations.
Okay. Bill?
I think we're kind of, nobody would deny that we're in an unprecedented period right now with COVID. And we do need people to step up. And when they do, I think they should be, especially if we've done this in the past, we should reward them. So I'm in favor of this item.
Okay. I don't have an issue with it either. Motion.
I move that we approve the one-time bonus to the maintenance assistant position in the amount of $1,500.
I second the motion. Aye.
Aye.
Aye, and the motion is carried to award the bonus. Thank you. So moving on.
Thank you, Commissioners.
You bet. Thank you, Captain. Moving on to item 4, Elections Department and County Assistance Reorganization Clerk. Jennifer. Yeah, there you go.
Is it on now?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, you're good.
Thank you, Board. So earlier, or last week, we sent you a memo from Clerk Brandon about basically reopening the election manager position. Currently, we have the election manager and county assistants combined, and we would like to decouple that position as we have seen county assistants not really decline, and obviously elections has very much increased. We're sitting at over 108,000 registered voters right now. And so before you, I had the memo that was sent to you guys, and then the proposal for county assistance reorganization, and then the election personnel changes. So with county assistance, we would bring the county assistance manager full-time 100% under restricted fund 40, which there is a fund balance of $3.5 million in restricted fund 40. And then we would like to freeze the claims specialist and bring that person over to fill the election 3 position. The election 3 position will then go into the manager position at elections. And then we're also going to freeze a 6-8 position of a senior accounting tech and reopen at 3H a clerk accounting at 89%.
Okay, so the end result of the county assistance reorganization is going through the first 9 months of fiscal '21, just around $2,700.
Yes, and that is out of restricted fund 40.
Understood. Keep going.
And then with election personnel changes, we would bring this person at the minimum, grade LS, and then again, we would bring over the county assistance position of claims specialist over to the clerk 3 position at the same pay that she's currently at. And that impact for the rest of the year is $12,436 loaded.
And how many elections are you having in '21?
So far, at least 3, most 4 if we have in August. But we're definitely having March, which will be the full 70 precincts, May for full 70 precincts, along with our November election.
Okay, March, May, August potentially, and November.
Yes, and we do get revenue from the state. This year, we had budgeted $300,000. Last year, we did, I think, receive over 436,000 of revenue that came back.
Okay, so just in summary, basically you're going to promote someone into the elections manager position.
Yes.
So there's no new hire there.
No.
Okay, keep going.
And then we're going to take the county assistance claims specialist, that's a 5H, and move her into clerk 3 position in elections. She actually worked elections for May and November. We had all hands on deck, and she was very, very good. She's got a 4-year degree and a great accounting mind and auditing mind. So we'll move that and freeze that position in county assistance, and so there'll be no new hires on the outside there. And then with county assistance, we'll move the county assistant / election manager back to the full-time county assistant manager, and then freeze 2 positions there.
Okay. So the ongoing annual effect is just a little over 16,000. First 9 months of fiscal '21, just over 12,000.
Yes, and typically, because we do positioning budgeting every year, we typically would have these 2 funded positions like we've had previous years. So it's still less impact to the budget, and the clerk always returns money back to the budget in the new year.
I know, but you're gonna get more in the elections thing, more unanticipated revenue with the
the state?
elections. Yes, from the state. The weird thing about that is it goes directly into the general fund. It doesn't ever go to elections. So, to me, this is a mandated service, and I don't see how to get around it. I approve of what's been asked.
Bill, any questions?
I think it's been explained very clearly, and I would support this completely.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay then, motion.
I move that we approve the Elections Department and County Assistance reorganization under the clerk as presented.
I second the motion. Aye.
Aye.
Aye, and the motion is carried. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item 5. Request to convert Planner 2 to Planner 3 position, Community Development. Director Callahan, you can stand, you can sit as you wish.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning, everyone. There's a memo in your e-file that I hope is self-explanatory. I will add, though, that the person in this position has earned the right to help, and already does help, more junior planners, and so this recognizes that. But it also serves the useful benefit of the same thing we did for the new deputy chief billing official, which is keep the staff we need by encouraging the heart. And this particular position has been with us for 12 years without seeing this sort of recognition. So I hope you agree that it's valid and worthwhile.
Sure. Is this something that was budgeted for?
No.
Okay. Is it something that you can budget for in the future, as far as you have so many
Yes.
planner two? Okay, so that's kind of what we want to try to get to, so we don't have, we have mid-year promotions, but not the budgetary impact. Now, with community development, your fees take care of your stuff, so.
In a lot of ways, even though we aren't a enterprise zone.
Enterprise zone, right. Okay, and you have, basically, you've experienced a fair amount of turnover over the past year. Go right ahead.
23% this last year, which puts us among the highest in the county.
1 in 4, about. Okay, which impacts your ability to service, which impacts your ability to collect revenue at the same time.
And it has I'm searching for a word, it's one that economists use, externalities,
Okay.
if you will, meaning, well, in this case, you can't really, unless you're directly involved, you don't really know how much of an impact it is to start over with people and bring them up to speed. In my experience, when you bring a newbie on board, it's a year before they're fully operational.
Or some positions, 2 years.
Depending.
I
yeah.
wouldn't disagree.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay then, Bill, any thoughts?
Well, with the clear problem we're having on attracting and maintaining people to these positions and our explosive growth, I don't think there's anything we can do but approve this request.
Leslie, you're okay?
Yep.
Motion.
I move that we approve the request to convert Planner 2 to a Planner 3 position, with things being brought forward in the budget position process for future promotions.
I second the motion. Aye.
Aye.
Aye, and the motion is carried. Okay, final item, number 7, Community Development Salary and Market Research Analysis, HR. Sylvia, is this yours?
Yes, this is mine, and I'm going to walk through several of the steps that HR took to come up with the proposal for the board's consideration. So basically, at the November 12th HR meeting, the BOCC directed HR to reevaluate the salaries of the positions within community development. It was specifically the building inspector, plans examiners, and the planners. And as David had indicated, they've got a 23% turnover rate, which triggered this analysis you wanted HR to go back and look at. I do want to send out a special thanks to Dorothy Cross, who worked on this project with me. She did an exceptional job data gathering so we can come up with something for the board's consideration. So what I'm going to be presenting to you is the research that was conducted, and you have several electronic documents in your personnel meeting folder, and Kim has provided you with hard copies as well. One thing to note is when we are doing an actual salary analysis from survey data, you typically use best practices to use the actual average. In this study, we didn't have actual averages available, but we were able to obtain minimums and maximums and compare it to our fiscal year 20 wage study that we did with that data. So I feel comfortable with what we were able to gather. So our HR approach for the analysis, including reviewing the wage study data from Northwest Data Exchange / BDPA, which is now considered Ameriben, has been sold to Ameriben. We conducted an aging analysis of the BDPA data to bring it to current salaries, just as a comparison tool. And then we requested salary ranges and job descriptions from the City of Coeur d'Alene, Post Falls, City of Spokane, Spokane County, and Spokane Valley. We also did get information from Rathdrum. So benchmark, so when you're looking at whether a position is within market or not, 5% is kind of the decision maker of whether it looks out of sync or not. So 5% is, would be considered below market or above. So in terms of the building inspectors, and the worksheet I'm referencing is called Community Development Market Analysis, December 2020, and it has like 3 big separate boxes there. In that, what we found from the survey data that we were able to gather, that the range minimum was 1.28% below our range minimum, which really is considered to be within market. Current salary, just as a comparison, our current salary right now is $55,000 for market, $55,180 our market range. The new data range, when we looked at the new data we received, it was $55,494. So it's pretty immaterial in terms of that position, so HR would consider that within market. So then we get into the Planner 1 and the positions thereforth. So in the BDPA study, they provided salary data of combining the Planner 1 and Planner 2 positions. And HR during the wage study took a very conservative approach in placing the positions within the grades since they were combined 1-2. And we had assistance from BDPA in that determination. So it's better to be conservative than to overstate it, and because you usually don't take anything back once you place the job in a certain grade. So in the Planner 1 situation, the range minimum is 6.92% below our current minimum. This is considered to be below market. Current salary for the Planner 1 is $55,180. The new data market salary information we received is $59,197. This really aligns with our grade 10 market of $59,603. Okay. Then we looked at the Planner 2 position. And again, those positions were combined, as I mentioned earlier, by BDPA. So the range minimum is 9.37% below our current minimum, again, which is considered to be below market. Current salary for the Planner 2 is $59,603. The new market data is $64,792. This aligns with our grade 11 market salary of $64,407. So,
Where's that indicated, Sylvia? The
So-
64,407, I don't see it on this sheet.
well,
Am I
I
missing
only
something?
had, I did a little more work on this this
okay.
morning, and what I did is, what I've added and where you're getting that market data is, I took the midpoint of the range minimum and range maximum on all these positions.
Okay.
And then calculated the difference from where our market was today. But even the percentage differences that I gave you were based off the range minimums that you have on your schedule. Okay?
Okay.
So from the analysis, HR proposes the following for BOCC consideration. Based on the market information we had, we're not recommending a grade or salary movement for building inspector, plans examiner positions. Those would remain at a grade 9. The planners, so with the planners, there's a domino effect that you need to be aware of. The Planner 1 and Planner 2, Planner 3, and Planning Manager would be each moved up, if the board approved, 1 grade based on the past and current salary information that we obtained through this study. So a Planner 1 would go to a 9, a Planner 2 to a 10. No, a Planner 1 would go to a 10, Planner 2 to an 11, planner 3 to a 12, and the planning manager to a 13. This aligns with their hierarchy and how the market is recommending the pay structure in terms of that.
Okay, go ahead.
Within the planning positions, it affects about 10 employees would be currently impacted, as you've addressed one of the positions in the last approval that David presented. So the projected average increase for the employees, if the board did move the individuals to their grades, which HR recommends you would move them to their new grade at their same percent of market, is about 8% increase. And Dena has calculated the costs loaded for this change. Let's see, which for this year would be $80,817. Fiscal year, annual effect. Fiscal year 21 cost is $60,613. Annual effect is $80,817. But in this calculation, David Callahan, which I'd like for him to come forward, has a proposal for the board for the building inspector plans examiners to discuss with you.
Go right ahead, David.
First of all, thank you, Sylvia, for doing the heavy lifting, and to your staff, I'm grateful, and for the board for allowing the consideration. It means a lot to me and the staff. The idea that we came up with for the building inspection staff, actually it was Chris and Sylvia's idea, I'm just the messenger at this point, but I agree with it, is that because we don't want to quibble with the mathematics that are somewhat irrefutable that Sylvia's done, what is still questionable is how it is I'm losing real people to real jobs in nearby agencies. Something is askew. And so the thought that we came up with was that we would do an incentive bonus for people to stay with us each month. They would get an additional $250. Those are the building inspector plan review people, as long as they're here. That way they know that this is coming. And up and until we do the next step analysis, which I hear is on the way, and that would potentially change things in the future for presumably the entire county staff. So that's the rationale. Does that make common sense to you?
What we were talking about was $2,500 per person, paid at the rate of $250 per month for 10 months.
Right.
How many people?
It's four staff members, because one may be moving.
One's already
Oh, here it is, here, okay. There it is, right, okay. And the idea being, I think as David pointed out, that, you know, if you pay a bonus up front and 3 months later they leave, good luck trying to collect it. So the idea here is to provide the incentive so they do remain.
Thank you.
For at least through the balance of this, yeah, it would be the balance, almost the balance of this fiscal year.
So it would go into effect January, so it may be actually 9 months
9
at
months,
the $250
okay.
versus 10 months.
Right.
Okay, thoughts?
Where is the fee schedule?
You know? Where are we in the process? You've
I believe Ben, the front counter planning manager, has provided information to John, and we're close.
Okay.
I know what the issue is.
Go ahead.
We've been, 3 different divisions have been tackling this and not always sharing information. I forced the sharing information, but they're still catching up. So what I believe is happening is that building division, current planning, and front counter planning is aligning all of the mathematics so that when we get it in front of you, it makes common sense. That should be no more than a month. Okay. If it's more than a month, I'm going to have issues.
How does it look?
It looks promising. The mathematics clearly show that we'll get an increase, but you have to remember it's over a period of an entire year of collecting fees, and the last mathematics we ran just for planning was about $23,000 a year increase.
And that's total for the department.
Well, again, that was just for planning, so
Oh,
I
that's
don't
just for
know what
planning.
it is when you put the entire, that's why we're still working on the 2 other divisions and getting everything in alignment.
Any ideas? Any thoughts?
Director Callahan, the 23,000 was for current planning only and did not
Right,
consider the front counter planning.
I thought I said that,
So,
yeah.
so there's still,
So, yeah, we have 3 divisions that all collect fees. The only ones that we've done the analysis on was current planning, that's the 23,000.
Can you give us a hip shot on the total?
No, I can't. Here's why. Never before in the history of this county have we done what we should have done, which is what we're doing now. A mathematically based analysis of what the real costs are. Frankly, that puts us about 40 years behind other municipalities. I know because I remember back when I started and I knew how these fees were derived.
Dena, and you probably won't have this answer, but just in case, they're pretty close to being 100% fee supported. Is that correct? Or?
not completely.
Okay.
They're covered more of their costs than most departments. I think airport and community development put forth a pretty good share of their costs. It's not 100%. My only question would be, do you anticipate, now is the
I'm sorry, you're gonna have to come to the microphone.
Yeah, come up,
I
because
was expecting yes or no, and now it's, it's okay.
otherwise,
Yeah.
It's not
someone's gonna have
100%.
fits on the other end. Go ahead.
I'm thinking.
Nope, can't hear you.
No, get closer, pull it in. Answer.
Okay, 60, 70% maybe you're covering of your costs?
Right now?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's probably,
that's what I'm thinking. I
Ballpark.
didn't look at it recently,
that
but I'm,
seems,
yeah,
what
that's
we've
about
seen,
right.
that seems-
And you have 3 divisions, and 1 division contributes quite a bit, and then the other 2 are kind of.
are way behind, as much
So-
as 500% behind.
Okay, so the one that contributes the most, is that the one that you're anticipating about 26,000?
No, that, actually Billings is the one that's contributing the most.
Okay, so you haven't, the big
So,
winner hasn't
right.
been calculated yet? So, I don't know, it looks like an annual cost of, about 81,000, so, you know.
Okay, so let me ask the question
81,000.
this, and I'm not trying to pin you down, David, okay? If you've got a division, a group, whatever it is, that's potentially 500% low. Am I staying there?
On any particular application.
Okay.
Say a minor subdivision, we should be charging twice as much as we are, for instance.
Well, that's 100%, not
Yes, but that's one of 8 things we do.
Okay, so what do you charge for a subdivision?
I don't have those numbers in my head. We can look it up
Mary,
for you.
for a minor, roughly?
It's over $1,000,
around 1,200.
plus some amount per each lot.
That's just a flat application for minor. Yeah.
Well, but it varies for major, for minor, for CUP, for zoning, pick something, it's different.
Okay,
That's why
so-
there's a
So what you're
range.
telling me is, potentially you can double that fee.
In some cases, they should go up 500%. I'm sorry, I don't remember which ones.
Well, that's 5 times.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so if you're at 1,200, you ought to be at 6,000.
Well, that's not one of them, but one of the ones I think is a $300 fee, as I recall. It should be 5 times higher, as I recall. If you just look at the pure math of what it's costing us to do these things.
Okay. Okay, look, you need the people, you need to retain the people, but you got to get these numbers wrapped up. And when it comes to fees, we need to charge what we need to charge to provide the level of service that people expect. If we're losing people, we can't provide that level of service. You hear it, I hear it, and the county looks like franken crap, okay? So I'm willing to do this. I need a deadline. When are you going to wrap up the numbers? If you're going to do 23,000 with just one, how many remain?
2 more.
Two
Two
more.
more. 2 more divisions.
You know, from what I've seen, I wouldn't count on building inspection increasing much, if any. I think the front counter will increase some. I don't think you should count on this being a lot more than 23,000, frankly, from what I've seen. Our fees are behind, but they're not that far behind. And the unknown is where we're going to land on minor subdivisions. You've postponed this and remanded it. I was thinking that was going to drop fees by 50% in that one category. Now we're going gangbusters still because everyone's trying to get in under the wire. I've gotten 20 new minor subdivisions in the last 2 weeks. That puts us at over 100 minor subdivisions this year, which is 5 times more than the norm.
Right.
So you got 20 in the last week. How much you charging for those?
I
1,200
don't
a
recall.
piece?
Do you remember?
Forget the lots, just minimum charge, 1,200?
For a minor subdivision?
Okay, so you just got 20, there's
Okay.
$24,000. Does that add to the 23? Okay, I'm
No.
making it difficult.
No, it's 20, I mean, it was 23,000 more than we've been taking in.
Okay.
And so, and this has been a moving target, so it's a little, that's why we need to run the numbers again once we get everybody, all the divisions' numbers comparative
Okay.
or comparable.
So this is an $80,000 increase. So without those numbers, it's really hard for me to just sign the check, if that makes sense. It's not that you don't need it, but I need to know where the money's coming from. When we need a new building, we've got other things going on. So I just have to see the big picture.
I don't blame you in the least. My frustration is it's hard to push staff beyond their abilities. Right now, people are doing overtime
Right.
and working to the point where they're exhausted. We managed to pull through on that Kootenai Electric, for instance, even though that was above and beyond, and that'll rake in $23 million in grants to that agency, and then that helps our OEM. So you can see the heart of my group is there.
Oh, absolutely. I agree. But I know you can't separate it, but we have to separate it. Does that make sense? You know, there's a lot of people, there's people in this room that I give, 25% raise off the top just because I know what they've done. But it's not something that we can, we're not the federal government. We can't print our own money. So I'm not against going forward with this, but I just really would love to see those fees to know how much we're going to balance.
Bill, you have any thoughts?
Well, we can't go forward with half the information. It all has to be complete so that we do have as close an approximation as possible to what it's going to cost to provide the service necessary. I think David's got a compelling need in community development, but we still need numbers.
Go right ahead, David.
Depending on how the numbers work out, if they're not what we need, would you be willing to entertain the idea of an enterprise fund like our waste system? So because, the reason I bring it up, the builders once a week ask me, why don't you charge higher building fees so that you can keep your staff? And my answer is always that I'm not an enterprise fund.
Right. I don't know anything about the laws surrounding enterprise funds, so that's not something
maybe
I
you
can.
should be. You're thinking something along the lines of solid waste.
Where we could charge a number that keeps our staff.
I think, David, what we're hearing here, and Leslie and Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, no one's in opposition. And it might very well come to the point where you can't make up the 80 grand. I don't know for me, and here I speak for me, that that's necessarily going to be a problem. But we need a number. We got to have a number, okay? Because if it's a $30,000 deficit or a $10,000 deficit, we need to know what it's going to be.
Understood.
And I think the message that's going to go out in fiscal '22, when we prepare for that budget, especially given what the legislature's up to, is I think you're going to see a lot of freezes. It may not be on wages, but it's going to damn well probably be on just about everything else. Because what I'm seeing is disturbing on the part of the legislature. I don't think it's going to affect what we're looking at here. I hope you're not planning any software purchases for fiscal '22.
We did our due.
Yeah, that one's done, thank goodness.
Okay, that one's done, okay. So can you get it to us in a month?
Yes, sir.
Are we inclined to approve any of this today? Do you want to, I'm sorry, Mary, go ahead. Please, speak up.
You got to come to a microphone.
I just want Mary to be able to voice her
Yeah,
view of
please,
these
I
things.
don't-
Mary's pioneered the path on doing what I'll call the scientific approach to fees. She's spent a lot of time with Dena and Dena's staff, and she's helped John and Ben, who are also doing the same thing, come up to snuff, if you will. So Mary's in the best position to tell us where we are on this.
Thank you, Commissioners. Mary Shaw, for the record. I believe that we are there in terms of having the information from the other two divisions, and I think we could get it out to you pretty quickly. The other thing I would offer is that I have worked very closely with Dena, who's been a huge help to me on the current planning side. And I have developed an Excel spreadsheet that calculates the time per position on average per application type. And it also shows current fees versus the difference between the cost in staff, for staff versus the fees we're charging now. And that's where David came up with in some cases, our application fees are 500% below what they should be. Anyway, I'm happy to send that sheet to you all because Dena finalized the calcs on it, and it's very clear. You can go application by application to see what we're charging today and what we should be charging in terms of an average staff time. Given the fact that, again, it's difficult to say on a case-by-case basis, every application type is different and every type that is the same is different. So these are just averages.
Yeah, that's fine.
I know that John has the numbers put together for the building division, and I saw an email from the front counter planning supervisor to John with their calcs, so we can get it to you quickly. A week?
That's fine.
Okay.
What are you comfortable with?
I'm comfortable with a week.
All right.
I can be a slave driver. No, I'm sorry.
Dena, go right ahead.
And Dena, yeah. And did I convey that correctly, the information?
Basically, it's an activity-based costing model.
Okay.
So things are broken down into activities by job, and then we pull in the current wages for those people to break it out by their time, be it however many minutes for each activity to go through for each thing. So
Okay.
it's pretty straightforward. So I'll just throw a little fly in the ointment here. So if you look at that and you're happy with that, and you want to grant these increases, we'd want to plug those new employee rates in to raise those charges to cover the increase
Understood.
as well. So
Understood.
there'll be some little finagling. My guess is, from what we've looked at, it won't be 100% covered. This increase won't be 100% covered, but I'm guessing it'll be more than half.
Close.
Yeah.
75-ish.
I think it'll be pretty good. but
Okay,
we'll
so
wanna
if you can get
finalize
that to us in a week,
The fee schedule to a week, I can give you today my spreadsheet for current planning, which is just one of our 3 divisions that we're talking about, the fees.
It might be a little too,
we're going to need all 3 though, aren't we?
Yeah, so I don't
Some
want
raw
something
probably
too
better.
raw. I'd like
Yeah,
something
yeah.
more
Well,
closer than what we're doing.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
one of my thoughts was, if we approve today, then I want that in my hand by January 14th so we can start the process of all the notices in the paper and the process we have to do to increase our fees.
Perfect. I'm comfortable with that.
You're
That's fine.
comfortable with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks.
thanks, Mary.
all right.
So what do you want to do? You want to do a motion contingent upon?
I suppose.
Bill, you have thoughts?
No, I do think we need to do something, and I just wonder if we do have enough information to make a decision today.
I think the information that we have, if we assume the worst-case scenario, is that the fees are going to cover at least half of the proposed increases. It might be up to 70%, but we can certainly say it's going to cover half. Dena's nodding, so I think she's comfortable with that. But we have 2 situations before us. We have that, and then we have the bonus for the building inspectors. Yes?
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct, and that is in the projection of the 80,000 for this year.
Okay, so the 80,000 includes the bonus?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So we have two elements there. You okay?
It's a hard one for me, because I think there's a lot of departments who could make similar arguments for the bonuses going forward. I much rather see something, and I'm just throwing this out, I hadn't really thought about this, something like, okay, in 6 months, then we, okay, you've weathered through this last 6 months with us, here's, $1,000 or whatever it is, from salary savings, we now see what new fees are gonna be, we now have just a little bit better picture of what things are going forward. Just an idea, it's, like I said, I hadn't had time to really consider alternates to what's proposed.
David, you're pondering.
At the risk of making you mad, it's fair to say I run a department that's been the redheaded stepchild for over 20 years. You can literally see that when you walk through the office. We have equipment that's as old as I am. And it wears on the hearts of the individuals that work for me. I am frankly flabbergasted that I still have the miracle team I have. I can't explain that. But I'm grateful, and I'm pleading with you to try and find a way to make this work as soon as we possibly can, because at some point, people like Cody say, I've had enough with promises, I'm out of here. Cody Morey, for the benefit of
Right.
everyone
We-
else,
yeah,
one
you
of
and I
our
know,
building
right,
inspectors,
yeah.
just got an $8,000 raise for the same job in a nearby community.
I do need to clarify, when I mentioned the effect with the bonuses of the 80,000, that would be annual. So for the remainder of this year, it would be about 60,613. For the
Oh, the
remainder of
80,000
this
is
year
annual. The
is
balance of this
annualized,
year is
yes,
60.
yes.
Okay. So if it's 60,000 and you can raise your fees, and those fees go into effect within, 30 days? I think we have to go through an ordinance.
We have
and
the
a
30-day
resolution.
notice. And then-
Right.
And January 14th is like, that's when I want to buy. If you get it to me in 2 weeks,
Or-
then we just start the
We just start
process
the
sooner.
process sooner.
Yeah, which is
We
fine.
do have a 28-day newspaper notice, and then a couple of weeks to make
Yeah.
it official.
Yeah, I hear your agony, David, and I'm ready to go forward. We cannot continue to do what we're doing and doing it under this level of strain and losing people. And just in the last couple, 3 years, for me looking back and seeing people leave, and, the one gentleman that David just referred to, who left us for Rathdrum, $8,000 more, and he doesn't have to walk hills. He's working the city. It's all flat. When our inspectors go out, it's waterfront, it's hills, it's irregular terrain. It takes longer. You're dealing with rural property, so I
Just a
understand.
few hundred miles a day driving.
Okay. So, but to Leslie's point, January 14th, that's drop dead. So I'm ready to go forward with the increases, number one, and number two, with the bonuses. I like the schedule of going 10 months because it's going to keep people. If we put it off for 6, if I'm looking at another job and I hang out for 6 months, I get my bonus 2 weeks later, I give you notice and I leave. I want to prevent that from happening. I want an incentive for these people to stay. And the only way I know how to do that is to spread it out over time and start in the month of January with that first $250. Bill, Leslie, please.
I'd like to hear a motion of some sort.
Do you want to make it?
That's fine.
Want me to do it?
No, that's fine. All right, I move that we approve the increases based on the market analysis done by HR for the individuals outlined in the paperwork given. And the additional 4 employees at the retention bonus at $250 a month for 10 months, 9 months.
I second the motion. Aye.
Aye.
Aye, and the motion is carried.
Thank you, Commissioners.
You're very welcome. It's long overdue, David. We understand. Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dena, especially. Mary, thank you. And of course, HR for your hard work.
We love doing this. Your job's the hard part, finding the money.
Hearing none, 11:55, meeting adjourned. Thank you.